Hey there, and welcome back to this lesson on bringing it all together. And we're going to continue where we left off right here at 110. I want to see another shape layer do something interesting here. So I'm going to create a new composition, and we're going to call this circular outline. And we'll do 2000 by 2000. And let's create a new shape layer again. And we'll double click on the circle, and there's our circle. I'm going to turn off the fill, no fill, but I do want a stroke, and white is perfect. And you can see we already have a problem because the stroke is extending outside of the composition. So we'll easy fix here. We'll go to transform, and we'll scale down the shape layer here. And we're also going to make the stroke much thinner. I want it to be a pretty thin effect here. Okay, so with our stroke, with the ellipse selected, all we have to do is go to add trim paths and watch what happens here. If I open up trim paths, close down this, and I change the end from 100% to 0, you can see it looks like it's if I start at 0, it's going to look like it's going to ride on like this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it interesting though. So we're going to set a keyframe for 0. We're going to move down. Oh, let's make it fast. 10 frames, and we'll make it right on to 50%. And I saw there, yeah, somehow got to 1%. Let's change it to 0. And we'll go to 1 second here, and I'll hit N on the keyboard to end my timeline. And we'll zoom in here. So that's kind of interesting. So now let's duplicate this layer. Let's hit R for rotation. And we'll go to the end here so we can see what's going on. And we're going to go negative rotation so that we can make this look like it's a full circle. So that should be negative 180. Yeah, cool. So now you can see what's going on here is looks like we've got two halves to a circle that kind of draw on one another. To make this even more interesting, to make it so it's not a full circle, let's actually drop it down to 25% and 25%. So that's looking cool. Let's create another new shape layer. And for this, we're going to select the pen tool right here. And we're going to click up here, hold down shift and click down here so that we have a straight line that looks like it's connecting these two. And you can see there's already a little bit of a problem here with the end. So I can just go, I can open up the shape layer, the contents, the path. I can select that point. I can zoom way in here. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be kind of a glitchy thing, but I'm just holding down shift and just dragging that down. Using the space bar to create the hand tool. So I can drag up here, selecting that point and then bring it up till it fills in right there. Perfect. So now let's make this shape layer. Let's hit R for rotation. And let's make it kind of rotate and do something interesting here. So maybe it rotates like so. Okay, so that's cool, but it might be even more interesting to see it if this line was like lined up with these pieces that are drawing on. So that tells me it needs to start straight up and end curve. So if I select both of these, it needs to end rotated like it is now. So it needs to be flip-flopped. So I can select both of these keyframes. I can right click, go to keyframe assistant, time reverse keyframes. So now it's going to start straight and it's going to end flat like this, but it actually rotates the wrong way. So right now it's 0 to negative 90. So let's try 0 to positive 90. Let's see how that looks. There we go. That's what I was going for. And then we're going to select all three layers, hit U on the keyboard to collapse, and then U again to open them all up. Select all of them, right click, easy ease. And I'll hit 0 to preview. And that's what I'm looking for. Back in the main composition here, we will move right there. That's where I wanted to have something happen. circular outline, drop it down in here. Something like so. It's very quick. It's also way too big. Let's go ahead and bring down the scale here. Make it kind of... So the action needs to happen much quicker here. So we'll go back in here and we'll just take these 3 keyframes and we'll just drag them forward. Something like so. So basically it ends drawing and it's gone. So let's preview this. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Something I do want to try here is with the circle that pops on here. I think it could be a little bit more interesting. So if I was to take this layer and hit Command D to duplicate it, and then kind of offset this layer. And maybe for this layer, maybe I reverse under layer styles, bevel and emboss. Maybe I reverse it from up to down. Let's just see what that does. And maybe then if I also change it to a stroke instead of a fill. And starting to see something there. Actually, let's change it back to up. Yeah. See what that looks like. Yeah, it's a little bit more interesting. It's just those couple frames where it kind of zeroes itself out. It's kind of interesting. And then I'm going to bring in one more texture here. And this is my notebook paper texture. I'm going to bring it in and just kind of play with it. I just want to see it very fast. And maybe it's like a multiply kind of thing. I also want this red line on this side. So I'm going to hit R for rotation. I'm going to rotate it all the way around. Negative 180. Scale it so it kind of fills the frame. Maybe like so. Let's just try overlay. It's not too bad. Now, sometimes if you add a texture or a solid behind some of these textures, it actually helps bring more visual interest to your piece. So if I make this like not 100% black, but kind of like this dark cyan, and bring it down here. You can see right there, it's already changed the color of the paper, which I don't like that. Don't like that. Yeah, that doesn't work. So maybe if it's just very quick, maybe it actually pops on right here when it goes full screen. Maybe that would be kind of interesting. If I bring it above the film here. I change it back to multiply. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Make it very quick. Maybe it's right there. No, let's just make it one frame. So starting to get there. And let's see here. Let's just extend this out a little bit here. Let's save my project. Okay, let's see here. So I think right about here, I have another texture I'd like to bring in. But before I do that, let's go ahead and select these 3 textures. Let's bring them up into raster and these 3 film footage pieces I've got, and let's bring them up here into stock. And the audio, don't have an audio folder, so I'm going to create an audio folder here and bring it up in there so we stay a little more organized. And pre-comps, we'll go here in compositions. Okay. This texture was really interesting. I'll bring it in here really quickly. What I like about this, when I found this on Creative Commons, is I like how it says, learn to use it now. And I don't really necessarily like, I like how to operate as well. So I'm going to actually select my rectangle tool. I'm going to mask it. So we just see that. Go to Effect, Color Correction, Black and White. So there it is. And it just needs to be very quick on here. And I'm going to drag it down here. And we're going to go to Effect, Color Correction, Levels. And the levels is going to bring up, I don't like this gray value here. I want it to be very, a lot more contrasty. So we'll mess with the gray values here. Bring in the blacks. And actually, I want to go ahead and bring this up in here. Let's do that. And we're going to bring in, back in our project window here, we're going to bring in the second film footage. Something like that. And we're going to set it to, no, let's try multiply and overlay. And then on this, we're going to bring down this mask here so I don't see that line. Now, if I go back into levels, I can adjust my gray values here so that it blends better. So you see, all I did was adjust my gray values. And then at the top here, it's still not blending quite right. So it doesn't have to be perfect. That's a little bit better. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this glitchy shape underlay here. So that's cool. So what we're building here is a very retro glitch is what I'll call it. Instead of retrofuturism, how about retrofuturism glitch? Sounds interesting to me. Let's see. So extend this a little bit out here. And I've got another image I know I want to use in here. Bring it in. And there it is. I'm going to bring it over here. And I want it to pop in right here somewhere. So this is just a photo of an aperture of a camera I thought was pretty cool. Something like this. So not so exciting to start with. Maybe we'll add a scale keyframe here. And this is called a hold keyframe. So if we right click right here and we say toggle hold keyframe, what this will do is it'll hold whatever key is there until the next key appears. So if all of a sudden a key appears here for 70%, what'll happen is if I go frame by frame here, frame, still 100%, boom, it jumps to 70%. I'm actually going to go ahead and just bring that up here a little bit further. So you can do hold keyframes for position, for scale, for opacity, anything. Anytime you want something to immediately pop from one value to another, use a hold keyframe. So to give an example, I turned off this glitchy layer down here, right in here, because I didn't want to see it with this. So if I wanted to bring it back on over in this area, one way I could do is hit T for transparency, set a keyframe, set it to toggle hold keyframe. So it's going to be 100%, right? It's 100% opacity until it hits to this point. And then I'd set it to 0 and it's gone. I could go further on and I could say maybe it pops in, you know, right here again, it's 100%. And then back here, it's back to 0%. So that's one way to control it. I also don't want to see it right here. So it's 0 there. And maybe it pops right back on here at 100. Yeah, something like that. And while I'm looking at this, something I noticed immediately is I want to see some noise texture over everything. Some pieces of this have noise, some pieces don't. So I want to kind of start blending some things together. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this part up here. And in the next lesson, we'll start adding some adjustment layers.